Well, hello, and welcome to Stop, Let's Team Up. It is our regular episode. I'm recording this a day late because just kind of crazy. I wanted to focus on Doctor Who. I was recording this morning, and when I was editing yesterday, it is incredibly hot here in the lovely city of Richmond, Virginia, and I've taken the opportunity to go out and do some exercise. Maybe not the best thing, but I walk for exercise, and I'm really trying to get a walk in each day of the weekend for my physical and mental health. So I took a hot walk, and I'm a little delayed getting started, and I have some notes. This week's episode is going to be something a little different. I have not put up a new poll. I've got some guests scheduled, but those are for later episodes. I really didn't have any subject that I was keen, comic that I really had something to say about it, but I do like to keep a regular schedule, and I do want to leave slots open like this one for me to try new things and hear what you say. So today is what I've been reading, and it's going to be the first, and I will do this from time to time. I do not go to my local comic shop every week. I go every 2 weeks. Some weeks I get 4 or 5 comics. Sometimes I get 2 or 3. As I'm going toward trades, I'm down to really about 20 books I actually buy as floppies. And so it's a mixed bag. I will say this. I'm an Avenger guy and a Legion guy. I'm not buying the Legion miniseries, Legion Justice League, because I've not been that enthralled with it. So I'm going to wait for the trade and read the whole thing. I posted something on a thread. Marty Gray was on that thread. So was Jimbo. But I'm not as a huge Legion fan, and I had hopes with Bendis' Legion in the first arc and the setup that I would enjoy it. But it's not, the mini is not kicking with me. So I'm going to wait until the whole thing's out, and then I'm probably going to invite somebody on, and we're going to, we'll discuss it as a whole. That's it. But I do get the Avengers. I am also getting the Dark Crisis crossover stuff, even though I'd cancel a lot of my superhero books because I got the apps. But I am interested in the Dark Crisis, and I want to read it as it goes, and I don't want to wait the 2 months for it to show up on the app. I have not started it yet because I'm not caught up with Justice League, but that will be another part of this episode because this one's going to be a little longer. But I want to say that I'm getting Avenger books. I'm getting certain superhero books, very few of them. But I'm getting a handful of indies that I also want to talk about that are not superhero team books, but they are good comic books, or they're comic books I'm reading, and I was hoping they would be good. So we're going to go through a handful of comics that I got last time I went, and we'll go from there. It is an eclectic mix, and I'm going to start with a non-superhero one. The first one I'm going to cover is The Lone Hunters. It is by Tyler Cook. Tyler Cook is the artist of Harrow County with Cullen Bunn. I have not read it. I looked at some stuff. Let me just start with the issue. It's issue 1. It's a 4-part miniseries. It's written and drawn by Tyler Cook. It's called The Lonesome Hunters, and it involves a young man named Edward 100 years ago fighting. His father's taking him to a house where a cult is bringing something evil through. He has a magic sword. Everybody's killed but him. He runs away, terrified. And then it cuts to where he's a very old man living in the city, and he meets a young girl. It's a rundown part of town. And this is all being narrated by this young lady called Lupe, who has an abusive stepfather, and there's a gold watch and a magic sword, and something happens, and another demon, or they're using animal avatars, it seems, has possessed Lupe's stepfather, and Edward is still terrified. And the first issue is just a setup. I will say this: I'm buying all 4. It's great. I will probably buy all 4 and then buy the trade because I like if they put out a nice collection, I might have it. But this is a comic I will read again. It is struck a nerve with me. It's hit that sweet spot. It's well written. Stuff happens. There's dialogue. It wasn't a 20-minute read. In and out. Because my problem with some modern comics is that I can read them in 15 minutes. that there's not a lot of meat on the bones. This has the meat on the bones. This struck me the way when I read the first Black Hammer issue, and then I bought every issue of Jeff Lemire's Black Hammer universe because I've loved it, and it's an eclectic. So I'm interested in this. I really like this. He's done. Tyler has worked on some DRPD. I have some of that stuff in trade, and I have had trades of all the Magnolia Hellboy, which I love. It's a universe I've always wanted to deep dive, but I've never done it. There's a lot of Harrow County. I'm going to probably check it out. If you guys have read it, and if it's worth it, if it's half as good as this, I have liked some comics written by Colin Bunn, and I really do love, I think Taylor Crook's art is wonderful, and you should read it. I really should. Put that on your checkout list. So next up is Avengers Forever #7 by Aaron Cooder Guru at EFX. I'm reading the Avengers regular book. I've always been an Avenger fan. I read it no matter what. It is like Legion. I read it no matter what. There are good times. There are bad times. There are stuff that I have loved and gone back and gone, There's stuff that I didn't like when I first read it, and I go back and I read it and went, this is better than I thought. Good and bad. I enjoyed Hickman's run. I think I needed a palate cleanse afterwards. Hickman is a very heavy writer. He does big concept, high concept, and sometimes it doesn't reach people. I won an auction, and I got most of his stuff at hardback, former libraries for like $7 a copy. Well worth it. I'm going to do a reread, but it's not my favorite Avengers run. It's one I enjoyed, and I was looking forward to Jason Aaron's because I liked some of the Thor he wrote. I read some of that and read the whole thing. I enjoyed a lot of it. And I do like him as a writer. I think he tells a good superhero comic book. I think he hits the notes that I need. That said, I think it was just announced yesterday at Comic-Con that he is going to be wrapping it up. And they announced the name of the wrap-up. I think it's Avengers Omega. I can't remember. But he's going to be wrapping up. But this is a spin-off to his whole thing. He's done a lot. It's a weird lineup. He's kind of following the Hickman mode, and I would say the Busick did a little bit toward the end. It's just he has a story he wants to tell. It's an eclectic membership. I have liked arcs, some arcs during his run more than others. I think the event, and we're going to get to the prequel issue to Avengers Eternals, X-Men. The big crossover. Some of the crossover stuff has bothered me, and some of it I've liked more than others. I did like the Squadron Supreme one. I thought it was fun. I like the regular artist in the book, and I like those characters, and I've kind of liked the Mephisto stuff. This story's taken a long time to tell. And I am of a generation to where a good arc was like 7 or 8 issues, and you went on and you did something else. But since when writers come on, they have game plans, and they have 2 or 3 year plans, and that's the way they're written. So some of it I've liked, and some of it I've not liked. I saw someone, I think it was Martin, commenting on the Celestial as a headquarters. I agree. I'm not on why couldn't they just be in the mansion. It's kind of gross. It's also, I don't see, it's just, reinvent the wheel. I'm kind of into the Avengers 1 million. I kind of want to see how that plays out. And Avengers Forever is part of that crossover where, Robbie Reyes, the Ghost Rider, is the prime Ghost Rider, and the villains, some of the biggest Avengers villains, have come together across the multiverse to destroy it, and they're all working for Mephisto. And each issue is different. And this book reminds me, Avengers Forever really reminds me more of the Exile series with Blink and all those characters. That's a comic that I love. That is a comic. I did not sell my floppies. I only had the first 3 trades. I will never sell those issues unless I get everything in trade. It's a great comic book. Read it. Run to it. The original edition of it is amazing. So I'm going to read something here, and this is just for this so you can get a glimpse. It's The multiversal Masters of Evil, a group of comprised of the deadliest villains of their respective worlds, have been making their way through the multiverse, conquering countless universes. An unlikely group of Avengers from different realities has formed to oppose the villains. An unlikely group of Avengers from different realities, Robbie Reyes, the All-Rider of Earth 616, Deathlock, dispatched by a mysterious Avenger Prime, and Tony Stark, the Ant-Man of Earth 818. And this is The Pillars, Part 2, and it is the second story arc. Is this the second story arc? Yeah, I guess it is. The first one took 5 issues. But basically, it's a room. There's 5 rooms around with 5 doors, and all 5 people called Steve. A hippie called Steve Rogers, a cartoonist Steve Rogers with the little out of shape, Steve before the shot kind of Steve Rogers. There is you get from him he's an out of shape Steve Rogers, but you find he's a mental patient of some sort, that he's had issues and he's terribly damaged. He's hurt inside. There's a dog named Steve Rogers, and then there's a mysterious person in the back. And the hippie guy keeps going through the 6th door opens. He runs in and he's thrown back, and he's saying that there are people in there, and there's a maze, and they're stopping him, and then he, on a conveyor belt, he rolls back. And by day 11, that's when the cartoonist goes with him. And then day 14, the dog goes with him. They keep trying every day. And there's a guy in a cell, you never see him. He looks a little haggard. He won't come out. He keeps telling them they're wrong. And he doesn't eventually, the guy that says he's hurting, he's had some mental issues. The cartoonist one convinces him because you have such a big heart and a nice guy, you could be the strongest. Day 20, they all go in, and when they're all shuttered back, you come out and you see it is the Captain America we're seeing is, he's got Nuke's tattooed American flag on his face. He's got an eye patch, and he has Wolverine's adamantium cars, and they all go in, and then you see that they are fighting people, and then all of a sudden 5 shields are thrown, and they all catch one. And you look, and there are 5 other Steve Rogers. There's a Rogers knight in armor, a werewolf, very cool. A little cartoony one, a little kid with a big head. There's someone in the captain's uniform, and then there's a gorilla Captain America, and then there are other ones you see. And then you realize that the people testing them are Robbie, Ant-Man, Tony Stark, and Deathlock. And they need an army of Steves. So that's kind of cool. So I liked it. As a single issue, it's a little light. If I was a kid in the old days, you'd pick this up and you go, well, that's neat, but I don't know what happened before. I mean, I've got the recap. I don't know what happens. So comics are being really written for the trade, is the way I put it. And I don't know what you call it, what you want, but that's what I call it. But, is this an entertaining single issue? Yes, because I've read the 6 before it. I've been reading the Avenger comic, and I know what's going on. But this isn't a place that you can jump on and you can read an individual. I was entertained by it. I don't think others, not everybody will be. I like the art a great deal. And that is by Aaron Cooter, who I'm not that familiar with, and Cam Smith. And it's a good, solid comic. It's really doing it. I like the characters have depth, I think, and it's heading towards some sort. But if you're not reading Avengers Forever and only reading the Avenger book, read this. I think it's actually in some cases better. I've enjoyed it. But I like the alternate universe stuff. I liked What If. I loved Exiles. It's in my bandwidth, and yay. All right. The next up is Devil's Reign Omega. I'd missed this. I'd read the Devil's Reign stuff. I don't read Daredevil regularly. This had Avengers in it, so I picked up the first couple, and I enjoyed the Devil Reign stuff, and I enjoyed some of the Doc Ock spinoff and the Thunderbolt spinoff stuff. It was okay. As one of these like mini events, and it's tying up Elektra as Daredevil alone and whatever plot line Zdarsky was doing with Daredevil, I was entertained by it. I liked it. It's one of those ones where the main book is enough. You could have read it with the main book. I did like some of the side books a bit, but this was neat. It was Wilson Fisk takes out. He's the mayor, and he's using the Purple Man to move the crowd. He cuts off his finger, and it's a thing. And he's trying to use Kilgrave's kids who don't want to be used. They're just kids. And so I really like Devil's Reign. Maybe it was something I should have waited for the trade. I think there'll probably be a trade. It would be easy to read. It was a pretty good story. I really have never read anything by Zdarsky that I don't actually like a lot. I think he writes a good comic book. He understands the medium, and he understands superhero comics, and he hits the sweet spot. This was a nice tie-up. You get to see that Luke Cage is now mayor. Jessica goes and frees one of Kilgrave's kids because someone's put a power dampening collar on her, and their kid's a little older. So it's setting up some stuff. It's going to set up this new Thunderbolt series, which I'm on board for because I always like I like the villain redeeming himself as a superhero. I like the Busick. I like the Fabian Nietzsche. I like that original Thunderbolts run so much. And I really did dig the Luke Cage led one from the prison, which was more like Suicide Squad, which I love, and I liked it. So I'm looking forward to that. I've also liked the line. I like kind of the lineup of what that new Thunderbolts is going to be. So I'm glad I got this, and I'm glad I read it. And I will probably cover the Thunderbolts as it comes out because I'm intrigued by it. It's got Hawkeye leading it. Monica Rambeau's in it as Spectrum. I don't know her. Blue Marvel's in it. One of Kilgrave's kids is in it, and there's a new character, and so I'm looking forward to it. Because I just like that franchise, and I want to see someone do it good again. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. That wrestling one was just atrocious, absolutely atrocious. If you don't know what I'm talking about, be grateful. All right, next up is The Variants, a Jessica Jones mystery by Gail Simone and Phil Koto. I got this for two big reasons. I like Gail Simone, and I like Jessica Jones. And this is, I'll read the little thing at the beginning on the first page. Jessica Jones is the former costume adventurer known as Jewel. Though she retains her superhuman strength, invulnerability, and healing, over the years Jessica has been many things. A superhero, a private investigator, a wife, mother, friend, and more. Across the multiverse, there are infinite versions of Jessica from countless realities. They are the variants. And it says Jessica Jones, created by Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gaydos. If you didn't read her series, go get it. It's good. All of her series, all of her solo stuff has been great. It's just her. It's film noto art, but it seems a little different to me, and I'm really digging it. I really dig it. But she's just going through her life, having a bad day. The one good thing is Luke. Her love for Luke and their marriage. I think that's great. So, some gangster comes in, says he's Hammerhead, and is he Hammerhead? I guess so. And they fight in a coffee shop. She goes to court. It's about Zedek Kilgrave and his family, and it triggers her because if you haven't read her book, she was under his Purple Man's thrall, and he did terrible things to her. And the person is someone who has been used by him and then discarded. But when she gets home, she's attacked by somebody, or she attacks somebody who's in there, and she's fighting, and the person is a version of her, and then there is a version of her called Captain America. I'm going to give this a shot. I thought the first issue was a good setup. I don't know how many issues this is, 4 or 6, but if you like Jessica Jones and you like multiverse, go get it. It's fun. All right, next up, Naomi #6 by Brian Michael Bendis. Hold on a second. I don't know Mr. Walker's first name. David F. Walker and Jamal Campbell, they're creators. I like Naomi. This is Naomi season 2, number 5. I have not read the Justice League she's in. I'm playing catch up on Justice League, and that's going to be something I'm going to talk about at the end. I like the first one. When Brian Michael Bendis writes he, for me, is very hit or miss for me. His long run stuff gets bogged down and gets a little lost, and I'll use the TV show Lost as a part. I'm a big fan of Lost, and I liked it all the way through, but I understand in the middle of it got a little plot heavy. And I think he does that, and then he doesn't advance the plot, but he just talks about the plot over and over again, issue after issue. This I'm really liking. One, I like Jamel Campbell's art a great deal. It is about her and her powers and her family, and it's good. If you read the original miniseries, this is good. I would probably recommend that if you, it may be something you read in trade or wait for it's on the app. I mean, I really enjoy it. This is one of the books of his that I like. I liked his Young Justice run for like all but the last, arc. The last arc got a little lost. But I think when he's writing his Ultimate Spider-Man's amazing. His Powers is amazing. The beginning of Avengers was good, and then it just got bogged down in event after event after event, and he gets bogged down. And I have not liked it. I've really, as a whole, I have not disliked it, but I've not warmed to his version of Legion. I think recreating the Legion all at one time with 30 characters is not the best idea. I don't think it's attracting new readers, which is killing me because it's a great property that should be handled well. There was some nice thread, and Jimbo jumped in, and Jim and others jumped in, and I said, here's my thing, is if you're going to reboot it, start it over. When they did Legionnaires, and you were introduced to the characters, and it took about 24 issues, and you had a Legion-sized team. You need to start from scratch. Starting from scratch doesn't mean you start with 30 characters. Can you go back? I mean, the original Legion is my Legion. Okay, from Adventure 247 to, and past Crisis, because I'm one of those people that Crisis doesn't bother. Crisis, I don't think it ruined Legion. I think it did some damage by taking Superboy out of the mix, and they never really they kept trying to tweak that, and that got bad. But overall, the Legion story, because I didn't read Legion for Superboy. I didn't care if Superboy or Supergirl was in Legion. I liked it when they were, but that's not why I read the book. I read the book for the Legion characters. They're the characters I was interested in. So, and I thought the reboot was wonderful. I know, and I read the first volume, and me and Jim will come back and we'll talk the second volume soon, I hope. But I liked it. So if there's a happy medium of doing it, but, Bendis' Legion, I'm not, it's not hitting me. It's not hitting any of the sweet spots. All right, next up is I have the prequel to Judgment Day. Is that what this dang thing's going to be called? It's called Eve of Judgment. It's by Kieran Gillen, Pascal Ferry, and Dean White, and it is the final issue before the big crossover Judgment Day. I like Pascal Ferry's art, so it was enjoyable. It's a good setup. I do not read Eternals, so it kind of clued into me what's going on and introduced some of the characters again. And they're being led by not probably the best choice of leaders, who wants to kill all the mutants, and then he's going to blow up this bomb. But since one of the things that Eternals can't do is harm the planet, it stops them. So they're coming to a different way, and that's going to be Judgment Day 1, which I have not read. I'm up to date on Avengers, so I'm going to be reading Judgment Day, and as of now, I'm going to get all the X-Men stuff. I'm going to try to read it so I can cover it in episodes like this. So, wish me luck. All right, next up is Flashpoint Beyond, number 3. I'm really loving this comic of Thomas Wayne, the Batman of the Flashpoint universe, going back to a timeline he thought was destroyed and see what's going on. I've liked all 3 issues have been a good story. I like what's going on. This version of Superman's in it, and he's trying to convince Batman he needs him. Harvey Dent's wife is going to become Two-Face, I think, which I find kind of very cool because in this universe, Martha Wayne was the Joker. But I'm enjoying it. This all comes from that Infinite Justice League, Infinite. All the stuff that is leading up to the Dark Crisis. I have liked those individual miniseries, like Justice League Incarnate. I've liked that stuff, and I've liked those individual ones. The Generations thing that led into Millennium, that led into the New Legion. I've liked that stuff. I know other people. Comic publishers. This is me. Really don't do events. Just have good writing. And have story arcs that last about a year, 6 issues, 7 issues, 12 issues in your story. stop. I think what's killing you is someone can't pick up a comic and just read it, that's just me. I think there are ways, and I think DC's really. I'm not want to be one of the negative Nellies or some YouTubers who really tweak me that are just angry. I can't get angry. I don't own this stuff. I mean, I want it to like it. But I'm not their editor. I'm not their publisher. I have the ideas that I think would fix it, but they would fix it for me. It is what it is. I'm enjoying this miniseries a lot. Flashpoint Beyond. I'm enjoying it. I like Jeff Johns. Does Jeff Johns stay on a property too long? Yes. I don't think Jeff Johns is this horrible artistic criminal that other fans think he is. I think he is an acquired taste, and I think he has annoyed some people with some of the decisions he's made. And that's fair. If you're going to go in there and write a character, an established character, and change it, you might piss some people off. It is what it is. I'm enjoying this. I'm looking forward to what's coming. I'm actually looking forward to reading Dark Crisis. That doesn't mean I think it's going to be good. I want to catch up on Justice League, and then I'm going to just plow through it. But they've got the Young Justice stuff, which I like. I'm looking forward to. There's certain things in it that I'm looking forward to. But this Flashpoint's all part of it, and who knows at the end, are they going to fix their universe? I know Justice Society's coming back. Part of the thing that started the Legion discussion in Twitter feed was, can they just use this big event, the Crisis, because they announced the other day that it's not really Dark Crisis, it's Dark Crisis on Infinite Earth, and it is a direct sequel. Well, weren't they all direct sequels to it, all the big events, to Crisis on Infinite Earth? Are they going to go back and fix it? Are they going to go back to Earth 1, Earth 2, Legion, the way it was? I doubt it. I mean, that was almost 85, so 85 to 95, 95 to 1005, 2005 to 15. It's 30 some years ago. They're not going to go back to it because those readers are my age. The problem I think with modern comics is are they attracting new readers? I don't know. I don't work at a comic shop. I go into the comic shop. It's a lot of guys and thank God more women, more diverse readership. And I go into the local comic shop where I go, Velocity. That's a great comic shop because you can get anything. There is something in there for everybody. And that's what comics should be. Something for everybody. I like superhero comic books. But I also like the first comic I talked to you about. It's my favorite of this whole stack. It's a horror comic. Or a mystic comic. Which I'm not normally a big fan of. But it's just, there has to be a comic for everybody. And the thing with joys of old comics is you could read a single issue. It had a unique story to tell. But it could be part of a bigger arc. So there's a happy medium, and I just don't think nowadays it's there's so many different forms of entertainment. I don't know. What I think, and this is my opinion for DC at least, you need stronger editors because I think some of the problem is you don't have someone going, tighten this story up. Because the artist has a lot more control than they did when I was a kid reading comics. But you need a heavier-handed editor. You need an editor that can go to a Brian Michael Bendis or Jeff Johns and say, tweak this. There is something, or tweak this. Do we need another artist to fill in you every other issue? An artist, be on time. Be on time. I mean, I know artists. It's hard. It's you're not pumping it out. You're doing a quality job. That's fine. Then don't plan it. Have an editor and a scheduler. Just do more heavy lifting. But that's just my 2 cents on that. But I do. Check out Flashpoint Beyond. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. The next up is Doctor Who Comics Origins. It is a fugitive doctor. The doctor introduced in the episode Fugitive of the Jadoon. Fugitive of the Jadoon. I like her. The actress who plays her is... Joe Martin, as I said, first appearance, Fugitive of the Jadoon, appeared again in Timeless Child at the end of that same season, the second Jodie Whittaker season, and then she was in an episode of Flux, which was this past season, and I'm hoping she's going to be in the Centenary, and I hope we see her again, but the Free Comic Day Doctor Who comic from Titan was one of hers. The series has been, the Doctor Who comics have been being written by Jodie Houser, who I adore her comics, and I adore this one. It is a lot of fun. And Roberta Granta, who's been penciling it for a bit. It's fun. The Titan. I've been talking about the Titan comics a lot on Gallifrey's Most Wanted with Mark McManus from Trap One, another Doctor Who podcast. I'll put a link in when I put the image of this cover down. I think you should check out those episodes. If you're, I'm normally not a tie-in. I'm not a big toy tie-in, show tie-in comic kind of person. I mean, I bought Star Trek in the 80s when the movies were coming out. Marvel did some good comics. They're okay. I have been always collected Doctor Who comics. I prefer Titans run a little more than I did parts of IDW. Some IDW really sang to me and others didn't. I think the comic strip in Doctor Who magazine is on and off really good to just good. It's never below that. Hell, a Doctor Who comic and Doctor Who Weekly in 1981 was when I first saw Dave Gibbons. So you can't go wrong with the Doctor Who comic. All right, the last comic bought is Firepower issue 22. Firepower is an Image comic by Robert Kirkman and Chris Samee. It's part of their Skybound run. It is about... it's a kung fu kind of thing, and the firepower and clans. I've been reading it since issue 1. I love it. It is the first thing I read every week when it comes out. It is absolutely gorgeous. Check it out. I think it's my favorite Kirkman comic. I loved Invincible. I read Walking Dead as long as I could. It got to a point to where I felt it just wasn't speaking anymore. It became repetitious to me. It's kind of like I'm not a Sopranos fan. Love the first 2 seasons of Soprano. Anything after that, I'm like, it's the same damn thing. I get bored if you're not going to try different things. And I like long form storytelling. So I like a good long story. All right, but that was that. I do want to mention something else I was reading. I'm playing catch up. I am way behind in my Justice League comics. I've been getting them for the last 4 or 5 years and not read them. It is something that gets pulled back on my thing. I've read arcs. I've read the Dark Crisis stuff and Dark Materials and some of that. And I liked it, but it was just so much. It was so densely packed. It was so much stuff and so many spin-offs and blah. And I just stopped. And I love Justice League comics. And I want to hope that I've been buying them, that I'm going to enjoy them because I read team comics. I love read team comics. So I am playing catch up. I got to the Endless Winter mini event. I call those mini events, those little ones. And I only had a handful. I only had the issues that went to the comics I was collecting. I had the first and last. So I read them all on the app. I read the physical copies because I prefer reading the physical copies because of my vision. When I read on the app, I do it panel by panel. It's on my phone. I'm old. I wear glasses. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't hate it. The overall story... It was not. I think it ended up being like 9 comics, seven comics. Could have been told in 4 as a single miniseries. But I don't know how comics are marketed anymore. I ran comics in the past. I haven't in 20 years. I don't understand how they're marketing it. I am 40 years older than the people marketing comics. I understand my little bubble in social media, which I have cut down to just Twitter and Instagram just for this, and just to talk to Doctor Who fans and comic fans. And I'm very particular. I block or mute people that I find offensive. I don't need aggro. I don't need an argument about what I like and what I dislike. I'm there for the positive thing of fandom. There is still positive fans there who know how to talk to each other, and that's great. But I don't know how they're marketing comics. But this is something that did not need to be a spinoff. It didn't need to cross into these books. It could have been more tightly written and just been a story about, because the 4 people in the past, it's some ancient blah 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 person who's an ice god or something or other. See, it didn't even stick. All right, and he in the 10th century is battling Hippolyta, Black Adam, the Shining Knight, and the Swamp Thing. They've easily been, 2 issues of Justice League, 2 issues of Justice League Dark, and you have the past story and the present story, and have, 3 of the 4 of the past characters in the present stuff, and do a mixed bag. I think it is the Flash and the Titan stuff really don't add to it. The Black Adam special is okay. I'm waiting to get the Black Adam stuff that's going to tie into his movie. I am looking forward to his movie. I like Chris Rock. I like the Shazam movie a great deal. I'm looking forward to the second Shazam, and they're Justice Society members in the show. So that movie's going to get a chance. I don't think every DC movie's terrible. I'm not a member of the Team Snyder. Zack Snyder makes movies I like and makes movies I don't like. I don't think he is the answer to DC's movies problem. 2 cents for that is they need their version of a Kevin Feige. They need, or Fellini or Filoni from Star Wars. I know people complain about that. They're overdoing it. They don't, they're putting out a lot. You're not going to like it all, folks. You're not required to like it all. And just like it, don't watch it. I've enjoyed most of the Marvel stuff, and I've enjoyed most of the Star Wars stuff. They're telling Star Wars stories. They're telling Marvel comics. But I'm 58 years old, and there are a lot of fans of my age that think they're not making what they think is their version of those things. But I think that a strong editorial hand is necessary. If you're doing a universe, you need someone steering the boat and making tough decisions, and decisions fans may not like, to get a better product. And I think with modern comics, I think what I see in reading Marvel and DC, that I don't think the editorial hand is as heavy as it should be. That it is, we're going to hire someone who's going to write the book for 3 years. They can do whatever they want. It can, whether it messes up continuity or not, that's beside the point. But there's no one saying that this is what the character should be. You're oversaturated. I mean, there are too many Batman books because that's the only thing that DC thinks is selling. They need a stronger editorial hand. They need someone in charge, someone who is going to steer the boat and bring on talent to write stories that the fans want to see, and to write stuff for everybody, which means I think DC doing YA novels is a great idea to get younger fans in. And the way I always understood it with comics is every 10 years you've got to replace your customer base. They should not be marketing comics to me. I am well past their sell-by date. I would like comics that I can read, yes, but I should not be their first priority. There are not enough people of my age that are still buying comics. They should be selling stuff that I want to read, which they do with the collections. I still buy certain comics because I like Avengers characters. I give books with characters I like a chance. I seek out new stuff in the indie market. I'm looking. There are a lot of comics out there for me, but they should also be trying to create new fans. Marvel does it with the movies. People, they have a fan base that doesn't read the comics, a huge fan base that doesn't read the comics, that brings in them huge levels of revenue, which is what ultimately their job is, to generate revenue and sell good films and comics and toys, all of it. It is all part of it now. It's not just the comics. I was working at comics when the direct market happened. I think going to the direct market in some ways did some damage to creating new comic fans. But it was in the 80s when I was working at comic shops before I went to college, and when I came back and did it a couple years, and I did it later in the 90s, I just felt that it was isolating it. And I think with the movies and the cartoons and a lot of stuff that's happening in the last 15 years has helped, and I hope it's drawing younger readers in. Let's get younger readers. But that's a different diatribe. I wanted to talk about the comics I'd read, and I've liked some of them. I think there's good stuff out there. I do, as a whole, prefer the indie stuff is better written. The comics are denser, and I mean there's more in it for what I'm reading. I think a lot of the superhero stuff that I read in some of these events is just, there's not a lot in there. There is nothing of depth or substance. It is splash and bang without any soul, sometimes without any plot. But that's me. It is really disconcerting. Or sometimes it's overwritten. I mean, I love Grant Morrison. I'm reading the Grant Morrison Seven Soldiers omnibus from it's that book came out years ago, but it's so densely written and read. You can write. I just think it's a stronger editorial control. I mean, I've been venting now for maybe 5 minutes about this, but I would say in that sack of comics I just talked about, the stuff I enjoyed the most was the indie stuff. I think ultimately what I'm saying is better editors, stronger editors, someone steering the boat. Not a Stan Lee, but, there are great editors. Karen Berger was a great editor. Laurie Sutton years ago. Louise Simonson was a great editor. Len Wein, Archie Goodwin. There are editors that shape it, and I think that is what is missing for me in these comics. There's no one it's just a stronger editor. And it's a little too reactionary to what is, and what is. Too many marketers are in there getting the, hey, I got a degree in marketing. Good for you. Go do something else. No, it's not fair. Marketers. There are people that need to do it, but I just don't know who they're trying to sell to. And if that means you have to take your company and, like, this is for teenagers, this is for adults, this is for everybody, this is for the older fans, this is for that, do that. I don't think you need to sell 1 million copies of an issue. I think overall as a line, you need to sell $7 million copies. Stop selling to the market. I mean, I know they're doing they do it for the collectorable people who are trying to make money or invest. They're doing the multi-covers. I think that did a lot of damage in the direct market time. I avoid it. I do every once in a while buy a variant if I like the cover. If sometimes, it's got a Jerry Ordway cover or someone I like doing a cover, I will spend the extra bucks. Or my comic shop, Velocity Comics Richmond, every once in a while, he sees a variant and goes, I think you'd like this, because he knows my taste. He's been selling me comics for 20 years. Stuff like that. But, I mean, that's not it. Because I think there is such a huge explosion in nerd fun, and I go to the Galaxy Con here in Richmond. I one day want to get to Galaxy Most Wanted. I'd like to go to a San Diego Comic Con one time, or a bigger con, and just go and meet and walk around and see the people enjoying this. And that's the thing I'm reading some of these more recent comics, and it's really sucking me. And if that's one reason I wanted to do this episode, I want to just vent about it, and not in a bad way. I'm not condemning it. Someone worked very hard to produce the comics that I felt a little missing. But there's just this little thing that's missing for me. But that's it. I went on too much of a tirade about that, and I don't even want it to be a tirade. It's just my concern and my opinion of what I think could work, but they're not putting me in charge. So I just wanted to express my thing. I'm enjoying this podcast has allowed me to go back and re-examine stuff from the past that I read and stuff I've never read. I'm going to start reading I bought the Silver Age Suicide Squad. I've never read the original Task Force stuff, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm enjoying reading the original Doom Patrol a little bit at a time. But I would like to go to the comic shop and grab something that really sings to me as a superhero comic. And there's stuff out there that does. Wrong Earth, which is an Ahoy comic about by Dragonfly Man. Wonderful comic about superheroes in parallel dimensions and Silver Age versus Bronze Age kind of thing. Great comic. Anytime I see something Ron Friends is doing, I've read. There's big books, the Blue Label or the Blue Ribbon ones. I've enjoyed those. They're kind of neat. I am enjoying the Avengers run, and I'm hopefully going to enjoy some of the Justice League run. There's some stuff in here. The Flashpoint Beyond is okay. When I get into Dark Crisis, I will probably do more of these episodes because I want to kind of follow up on that and talk about it here. But, that's it for this week. We'll be back on Tuesday with a Legion adventure, and then on Thursdays with a Defenders. There may not be an episode next weekend as I'm going to New York City. If I get a chance to record an extra episode, or I get a chance on Wednesday to record the Len Wein episode, I may drop that. But you may just get some Defenders and Legion for the next 2 weeks because, stuff's happening. I have a busy life, and we're going to go visit family and family. So, folks, until then, do me a favor. Be smart, be safe, be kind, and read some comics.